Veteran struggle icon Winnie Madikezela Mandela has died at the age of 81. Her family issued a statement confirming the sad news. She breathed last at the Mill Park Hospital this morning. Born in Bizana in the Eastern Cape in 1936, she moved to Johannesburg to study social work after matriculating. She met lawyer and anti-apartheid activist Nelson Mandela in 1957, and they were married a year later. They had 2 children together. Mandela was soon arrested in 1963 and sentenced to life imprisonment for treason. Nelson Mandela was eventually released in 1990. During Mandela's time in prison, Madikezela Mandela suffered under the threat of the apartheid forces. She was placed under house arrest and at one time banished to Brandfort town in the Free State. In 1969, Madikezela Mandela became one of the first detainees under Section 6 of the Notorious Terrorism Act of 1967. She was detained for 18 months in solitary confinement in a condemned cell at Pretoria's Central Prison before being charged under the Suppression of Communism Act of 1950.
It was very, very sad that Mama Winnie passed away at the age of 81. She was born in 1936. And she was a real fighter. I knew her very well, and I wish her for the rest of a peaceful rest for the rest of eternity. And I really hope that everything will work out for her and her family. The situation with her, she was ill for some time, in and out of hospital last year, and I believe that she suffered a bit with diabetes and other related sicknesses. She was also a very strong woman, a very intelligent woman, a lot of deep insight, and she knew exactly what she was doing and what the ANC was about. Hence, always saying that she's the ANC. She's a very clever, she was a very shrewd and clever politician too. Unfortunately, her skills were not used to the full extent during the negotiations in 1994. She was very, very proud of the ANC having won the elections, very proud of the ANC actually having overcome the apartheid regime. And she always she proudly announced that she was the ANC, and that her blood was like Julius Malema used to say. He copied her when he said that his blood is black, green, and gold, and that's what she said herself for many years before him. Many people hijacked her expressions and the way she spoke. She was very happy with everybody around her who shared her thoughts on the ANC, on the struggle, and on life in general. She was an intelligent, well-spoken person. Extremely well travelled too. She knew what things were about. She was very wise, though many people didn't portray her as such.
I'm absolutely heartbroken. We've lost one of the greatest revolutionaries that we've seen in South Africa. I've got memories of Mama Winnie Mandela standing up against the security police, fighting for her children, not only her own children, but fighting for the children of Soweto and South Africa. We love Mama Winnie. She was our inspiration. She was the person who carried us through during the darkest days. She was the person who stayed inside South Africa, a comrade who did not leave, who openly supported the African National Congress. And from the side of Umkhonto Sizwe Military Veterans Association, we recognize her as one of our very own and one of our greatest commanders and comrades and cadres in Umkhonto Sizwe. I've got memories of Mama Winnie standing there at the small gate where she was kept in the Free State, where she was banished, and she stood with so much strength, with so much courage, and she gave the whole nation courage. Remember that for 26 years, she lived alone when Comrade Nelson Mandela was in prison. She kept up his spirit, she kept up the memory of our leader, and she stood strong for the sake of all of us. Truly today and tonight, we feel a deep void, but at the same time, we feel a great sense of inspiration because she was truly a comrade that stood with the people. And with her death, she speaks to us today and say to us that we as South Africans must never give up the hope for full liberation, the hope for a true liberation of our people in every possible regard. She was always deeply concerned that in South Africa we cannot just have political power, that we must also have economic power.
Well, earlier we had the press conference from Mill Park where Winnie Madikezela and Jeff Radebe were speaking. Let's listen into what they had to say.
Mrs. Madikezela Mandela was one of the greatest icons of the struggle against apartheid. She fought valiantly against apartheid state and sacrificed her whole life for the freedom of her country. Her activism and resistance to apartheid landed her in jail on numerous occasions, eventually causing her banishment to the small town of Brantford in the then Orange Free State. She kept the memory of her imprisoned husband, another icon, Nelson Mandela, alive during the years on Robben Island, and helped give the struggle for justice in our country one of its most recognizable faces. She dedicated most of her life to the cause of our people. Mama Winnie Mandela was identified by the masses of our people as the mother of the nation. This was in recognition of her fearless and uncompromising stand that she took against the might of the apartheid regime. She was really a colossus who strode the Southern African political landscape. As the ANC, we dip our revolutionary banner in salute of this great icon of our liberation struggle. The Mandela family are deeply grateful for the gift of her life, and even as our hearts break at her passing, we urge all those who loved her to celebrate this most remarkable South African woman.
With the departure of Mama Winnie, one of the very few who are left in our stalwarts and icons of the struggle, she is one of those who would tell us exactly what is wrong and what is right at any time. We're going to be missing that because it is not just being an icon because of the length of your involvement in the struggle. You become an icon when you provide that guidance.
Mzwakhe Mbuli, political and social activist, also joins us now on the phone line. A very good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you just give us your words of condolences to the family and also some of the memory of Winnie Madikezela Mandela?
Ma'am, it's a great loss for not South Africa, but the whole world. This was one of the great stalwarts in our country at anti-apartheid Kenya. She is the only one amongst those that were singled out to be banished and moved from Soweto to Brantford to an unknown world. It demonstrates the impact she had defying the apartheid regime. The cruelty that was meted on Mama Winnie, the mother of the nation, can never be measured. It's beyond measure. It's beyond, symbiotic terms. It is really a great, loss for us. But I find solace. We should find solace in the fact that she never betrayed the revolution. She was mostly feared by a so-called power in the region, and regardless of the fact that our stalwart icon was languishing in prison, Nelson Mandela, but as though that was not enough, they continued the apartheid regime to harass our mother of the nation. It is a sad loss. Sometimes death strikes when least expected. I don't think anybody could have envisaged this, and its timing. I mean, recently, when she met and were visited by our new president, she said, "I am back." She was vibrant. She was forever vibrant. I think there's no doubt everybody will always and never talk about Mama Winnie without mentioning her beauty. She was the most beautiful woman in the world. That was beauty and the brains. The world has lost a goddess, a heroine, a hero, and I think, but what is very sad about is the fact that in December, currently, the lady called Barbara King, there is a documentary about Mama, and she suggested that we should meet with the crew that was actually working on a current documentary because she wanted film to speak for herself, and she singled me out among other people that I must be part of this film documentary that is coming out. I just spoke to Barbara King now. It will definitely go ahead. Fortunately, they were able to capture her and film Mama, but yeah, I think it's a great loss. A person who this is a person when there was leadership vacuum, when people were detained, when our leadership was either in exile or prison. Mama Winnie was the only hope for our people, for the oppressed masses. She spoke for them, she became the voice, even when some of the MK cadres were executed or murdered, and the apartheid regime will issue a decree that no one must attend that funeral, even saying Mama Winnie herself was banned to attend those funerals, will defy and go to those funerals because of her audacity and the resilience. So South Africa and the world has lost. I know many people will talk and testify about this gallant veteran icon of our struggle, but yes, we have lost Mama, and her legacy will forever be with us. Her resilient spirit should forever live. So Mama Winnie and her role and the contribution in our liberation struggle can never be erased. Neither our history can never be complete without actually mentioning the pages of history for her gallant role, courage, resilience, in liberating this country.
Also, we know that she was a world icon and not just a South African icon. So in terms of the world, what is the legacy that Winnie Madikezela Mandela leaves behind for the world? What can people take from her life specifically?
If in this world you have Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa, this was a different breed, a rare breed, a person that people over, those who still want to be liberated, those who are fighting for their freedom, could emulate and look up to. I'm talking about the person that was fearless. Mama Winnie was resilient. Mama Winnie was fearless. Mama Winnie was prepared to actually suffer the consequences of a conviction and belief. I think that is why I'm saying she was a flag bearer. She kept flames burning. She never actually, as I said, betrayed the revolution. So the lesson for people out there around the world, I have no doubt that many revolutionary forces and freedom fighters around the world, some of people actually looked up to her, were actually inspired by her zeal, by her courage, by her stance, by her fearlessness. So that is what I'm talking about the person that actually, some people paid lip service. Some people became comrades when things were okay. This is the person who was brave during the Stratcom. She was targeted by the Stratcom, the apartheid propaganda machine. They besmirched, they tarnished her name. So much happened, so much was said about Mama Winnie. But be that as it may, she was untarnishable. She emerged victorious. They issued pamphlets. They did so much. They said so much about her, but she kept the fires burning. That is Mama Madikezela Mandela.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the phone line. That was Mzakile Mbulu, political and social activist, just saying that it's a great loss to the world. She was singled out and demonstrates her power. Her influence is unmeasurable. Sometimes death strikes at the least expected moment, and she was forever vibrant, the most beautiful woman in the world. The world has lost a goddess, a hero. That's the words.